Hey there, Ray Peck. My name is Brian. I'm here with another product review video. This time we're going to be talking about Canvas quizzes. Should you be using them in your class or not? Poor tools don't deserve your time and attention, but the good ones, they just might. In order to make this judgment, we're going to be using the rubric that you see on your screen now, 4-point scale, all the way from it's killing it, awesome, to this tool sucks, boo, right? 4 to 1. And then the categories that we're going to be assessing are things like how easy is the tool to use for the teacher? How easy is it to use for the student? How effective is the tool at accomplishing its designed purpose? How adaptable is the tool to multiple situations? And is the tool approved? Total points possible, 20. If it scores anything less than a 15 or so, you got to ask yourself, is this tool good enough for me and my students? It might not be. Let's take a look right now at the quiz itself. This is just an example quiz that I've made. It's pretty engaging with a lot of images. We've got stimulus-style questions where the student is being asked to read something on the left and answer questions about that on the right. There's a hotspot question, pretty clear from this example that this is more of an assignment rather than an assessment per se, because they can get all the answers just by reading the text. So sometimes that's appropriate though. Sometimes that's appropriate. All of these questions will automatically grade, so the teacher doesn't have to do that themselves. The grades get automatically input into the teacher's gradebook. The students automatically can receive their results and get feedback that's pre-programmed in. And the student looks like to be challenged at a pretty high level of rigor here, but with a pretty low level of difficulty because they're only being asked to click some things and to drag some things around. So that's a pretty low level of difficulty in my opinion. All right, that's what the quiz looks like. The main focus of our review here is actually going to be on the settings and moderation tools that are provided by Canvas. In the settings tab, the teacher has the ability to have the questions show up in random order. That would keep students from really staying on the same pace as each other and would also go hand in hand with shuffling answers. That keeps it so that the students sitting on the left or the right would have their answers show up in a different order. And that helps to prevent the lean and look style of cheating, which I like. It allows you to, as the teacher, have one question show up on the screen at a time, which prevents students from feeling overwhelmed. You can allow backtracking, so students can go back to an answer they've already given, or you can disallow it by unchecking the box. If you allow backtracking and you see students going back and forth to a question many, many times, I would say anything over 2 or 3 would be pretty unusual. That's a red flag in the Canvas moderation log that this student might be cheating. Also, you can require an access code, so you can make it so that the students can only take the test if they have the code, which would keep them from taking the test outside of your classroom and, again, help prevent academic dishonesty. You can add a time limit, and that time limit can be set to whatever number you want. That could help to limit academic dishonesty if the students feel pressure to keep moving and they don't have forever to look up answers or ask their friend. So a time limit could be useful depending on your situation. You could also allow the student to keep their highest attempt if you allow multiple attempts on this. Since this example is just an assignment style thing, I think multiple attempts would be appropriate. Allow them to keep their highest score, and you can limit them to however many attempts you feel is appropriate. You could also make it unlimited. Since this is just an assignment, I might do that. But that doesn't mean you have to let them retake it immediately. You can give them a waiting period of, this example is 5 minutes in between, and you have to think about your answers. You have to think about what you read before you take the next attempt. That could be a good option for you. If you are going to take the opportunity to give them multiple attempts, you might want to consider restricting how much information the student is given at the end of their quiz. If you're going to say, yeah, take it again a second time, that's fine. If you tell them all of this information down here at the bottom, this is what you answered, this was incorrect, this is the correct answer, you're going to make it increasingly easy for the students to get a higher score on their second attempt without studying. And I don't think many of us want to do that. Depends on your situation, depends on the application. I totally get it. But you can restrict the results that students receive of their quiz if you choose to. Very flexible. Lots of different things that you can use in different combinations to create the atmosphere of test taking or assignment completing, whatever that you want. The next thing that I want to point out to you in this product review is the moderation tab. Now, to really show you what this looks like, I'm going to have to switch to a different quiz because my quiz is made in my classes that don't have real students in them. That's just where I build things for teachers. So looking at this example of a moderation tab in a real teacher's class, we can see that the student's number of attempts is shown, their score is shown, the amount of time that is taken to take the quiz is shown, and there's a few other things that we should become familiar with. First things first, if you see that the time is generally falling between 15 and 40 minutes, anything outside of that general window should begin to cause the teacher to wonder if this test is being taken with authenticity. Here's a 50-minute test. That's a little outside the norm, but not too bad. Here's a 20-hour test, almost 21-hour test. That is really weird. And it looks like the teacher has investigated and given this student a 0 because of cheating. That could be the right thing to do depending on some other information that we get. Keep continuing scrolling down. We had this student take an hour to take the test and receive a 23%. They took it a second time and got a 94%. That could be because they went home and studied, came back and did it much faster to a much higher level of proficiency. That's good. That's what we want to see. Here's another one, though, that took nearly 100 hours to get 85%. Let's look at some of these logs to see what information is available to us. What we don't see is a sign up at the top of the screen that says, this student cheated. It doesn't tell you exactly what happened. What it does tell you is how long a student is taking, elapsed time, on each individual question. This is all the same question. Everything that you're seeing on the screen right now is the same question. And it shows you it took them 35 seconds to type this much. It took them 5 more seconds to type this much more. By the time we get down to here, it's been almost 2 minutes. The student has finally typed one complete sentence and then moved on to the next one. That's a while for one sentence to be typed. I think we might need a little bit more information. We can continue to investigate. We can continue to look and see what there is to see about how the student is making progress. Looks like the student then picks back up at 71 minutes after they began to begin retaking this test. After 5 minutes, they clocked out, and at 71 minutes elapsed, they clocked back in. This student is taking a very long time to complete some questions, and they're starting and stopping. And then they're completing a lot of things in a rush. So this one may need to be looked at a little bit closer detail, and you only can learn that by using the moderation tab. What we can do is we can also, from this tab, take a look at whether or not the student needs to be given any extra accommodations. Some students require it with 504s and IEPs. You can give additional time or remove the time limit altogether if you want. Important thing to note is that if you use the accommodation edit button, these settings will be applied to all course assessments for the student in the future. So you don't have to go back in and do it every time. Lastly, you can click the moderate button on the far right, and you can give them additional attempts should you choose to do that. Also a really good tool in the moderate tab. So all together, where are we? Where are we with this Canvas quiz rubric? Well, personally, I think ease of use for the teacher in building these things is pretty good. It could be easier. It's not like Google Docs level simple, but it is pretty straightforward once you get in here and start getting under the hood a little bit. So I'll give that a 3 out of 4. For students, the ease of use is pretty good. Again, it's not the most easy thing for a student to use, but it is all right. I think it's pretty good as well. How effective is Canvas quizzing at quizzing students? I think it's pretty darn effective. There's very few tools that I think are definitely better than a Canvas quiz for assessing student knowledge, especially in a way where the teacher doesn't have to give so much of their time for assessment grading, because it does grade a lot of those question types on its own. How adaptable is it? Well, pretty adaptable. You just saw that was a standard assignment that was done through Canvas quizzes, and I think it's pretty adaptable. Is it as adaptable as some things like Jamboard I'm using to show you the rubric right now? No, but it's pretty good. And is the tool approved? Absolutely, yes, it is. It's part of Canvas, and the district loves to use Canvas. So if you add these points together, what we find is that this scores a 17 out of 20. Canvas quizzes, pretty strong, pretty good tech tool, and it is definitely recommended by our staff as a result. What are some weaknesses of the Canvas quizzing system? I don't know. It would be great if Canvas could give partial credit to more question types. It does that currently for matching, but there's some others that I wish I could give partial credit for. And then what you're seeing on the screen, I would love it if it had a little bit more academic honesty tools that were a little bit more enhanced, that you didn't have to act as a detective quite so much, and maybe clearly communicate with teachers and districts about what Canvas's log is able to do and what it's not able to do. What Canvas does tell us is right here on the screen. Don't use this log in Canvas quizzes for your academic dishonesty measurements. I think, as I've showed you, it can be a part of what you're using to determine if a student is being academically honest, but it cannot replace the tried and true methods of good classroom management, walking around the room, keeping an eye on students' screens, turning their desks so that their screens are visible from the teacher's desk, for example. It can't replace those sorts of behaviors, but the log plays a role in helping solve the mystery. In combination with how you set up the quiz, good classroom management techniques, and the log, cheating can be reduced in its frequency and its intensity. But there's definitely some areas of improvement left for Canvas. Altogether, 17 out of 20, pretty darn good score, and it deserves your consideration as a tech tool. If you need help with that, as always, reach out to your friendly neighborhood DLT and we can get you going. Hope you've enjoyed this product review about Canvas quizzes.